Hello everybody and welcome back to another video for the day. We're going back into r/entitled people, cause you know, the world really does have some entitledness, is bad, but you know, you guys seem to like them type of videos, so you know, every once in a while I figure do another one. So you know, if you guys would like to be absolutely amazing, show your support, and see more videos like this one in the near future, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment down below to start up them wholesome internet discussions, and if you guys have not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. I'd love to know down below what video games you would like to have be the background, because I have an access to the PlayStation Network, so yeah, I can change the video game to pretty much any PlayStation thing that's on the store. It's good. My sister cusses out my daughter at her wedding. So my daughter, we will call her T, came over to my house to do some laundry, and she was asking, what the heck is Aunt Liz's problem? I asked her what she meant, and she explained how my sister had posted on Facebook that she and her husband were going for their 15th anniversary. T said that she had sent Aunt Liz a congrats, and Liz responded back with, very freaking funny. So I sat her down and I told her what I'm about to tell you. When T was 4, Liz had called us and said that she was getting married in a few months. She and I were going to do the typical girly squee sounds and, oh, that's wonderful stuff that sisters usually do. When we calmed down, she asked if T would be willing to be the flower girl. I asked her, and she said yes and chanted, "I'ma be the flower girl," and started running around to pretend flying like she was a new member of the Justice League or something. I told Liz we need to work on it, but she's in. About a month later, the invites came in. In them, it was stated that Liz did not want any children under the age of 17 there, and explained why. The reasons were sound, bored children, potential disruptions, etc. So I understood them. I did, however, have one concern. I called her and asked, hey, just got the invoice. Me and the boys will be there with the hubs, but he has a business trip that month and can't make it. Do you still want T as your flower girl? Liz replied, oh god yes, she's too cute to not have her. I shrugged and said, well, it'll be the 4 of us. Consider this your RSVP. She said, great, see you there. We hung up and I went online and made the reservations. A room for me and T, and an adjoining room for the boys, Ron 19 and Carl 17. Names changed and all that. Fast forward to the weekend of the wedding. The venue is a 6-hour drive for me, and I had to get out of there on a Friday for the Saturday wedding. Since I had to wait for Carl to get out of school, we got a late start on Friday, and we got there around 10 p.m. I got out and checked into the hotel room, and I texted Liz. They were still at the venue and would be there for at least another hour or two taking care of details, so we drove over. We got there, and it was the usual pre-wedding chaos. Liz was getting things to her liking and honestly going a bit bridezilla. She saw us first, beamed, and came over. However, when she got closer and saw who was in my party, she blew up. Why did you bring her? She screamed. I said, but you wanted her for... I was cut off, and Liz went into a complete screaming meltdown about how this was her day. She didn't want children there, and how dare you bring a freaking child to my wedding? While looking right at T, and then stormed off screaming curses into the night. I was done. T was crying, and yes, but I wanted to be the flower girl. In between sobs, and Ron and Carl looked like they wanted to kill their aunt, and at the moment, I wasn't sure I wanted to stop them. I picked up T and tried to comfort her, and herded the crew back to the car, and we drove back to the hotel. I was seriously considering just packing up the car and heading home. I told the boys that, and Ron was being the level-headed one. Mom, it's a 6-hour drive and we're all too tired and pissed to make that drive right now. We'd get in around 5 to 6 in the morning depending on the rest stops and the bathroom breaks. Do you really want to do that since we have a nice hotel room for the night? How about we go back to the hotel and get a night's sleep and head back in the morning? I grudgingly admitted that he had a point. Carl piped up, Mom, I've got another idea. I was waspish and kind of snapped, What is it? Carl looked up on his phone and stupidly said, Well, T's pretty upset, which was true. It's been 15 minutes and she is still sobbing. I want to be the flower girl over and over in the back seat. Carl continued, There's a county fair that just started tonight. Carnival rides, petting zoo, games, that sort of thing. I snapped, So? Carl is made of sterner stuff. He didn't wither under my anger and continued on. We have the hotel until Sunday morning. Why not spend the night here, go to the fair tomorrow, and then go home on Sunday like we planned? Give T something to think about other than Aunt Liz's freakout. Let her have some fun, and we could all use a mom in the gang outing right about now. I calmed down a bit and said, an idea not without merit. I looked at T in the rear view and said, What about it, T? You want to go to the fair instead of the wedding? She sobbed, I want to be the flower girl. Carl piped up, They're gonna have cotton candy and deep-fried Oreos. The crying stopped. There was one last sniffle and an exhaust but determined, I want to go to the fair. Okay, fried Oreos are actually pretty good. So that's what we did, and we had fun. Liz could have her bridezilla day, and that was that. Except that it wasn't. We had all turned our phones off since we knew some calls would be coming in, and we just could not be bothered to deal with it. When we got back to the hotel, my mom and dad were there. They lit into me about how T was supposed to be there as flower girl, and we just blew my sister and her special day off. Mom, Dad, I said, You know how the invite said no children? Well, I called Liz, and we got ours, and I asked if she wanted T as the flower girl. She said that she did, so I brought T to the venue last night, and Liz flipped out about how dare I bring a child to her special day. Carl, bless his I can't function without an iPhone in his hand heart, pulled up the video. I didn't know he had recorded it, but he was able to catch the final, How dare you bring a freaking child to my wedding? I lit into them. So if T is supposed to be there as a flower girl, but not there because she's a child, how am I supposed to pull that off? We went to the fair to calm T down, and so she'd have something happy to remember, and hopefully forget that Liz cussed her out to her face. Mom and Dad went quiet and then apologized. They said that they were going to have a word with Liz when she got back from the honeymoon, and then had a nice chat with T about the things that we saw and did. We drove home Sunday morning, and that was that. Story over. Back to the present. T was blown away. Mom, would I be a bad person for unfriending her and blocking her, but I said no, and we went back to enjoying some mom and daughter time. It really is weird how some people will take this whole wedding thing as some kind of reason to be just a horrible excuse for a human being. It's like,
I need my special day to go exactly how I want it to go. And if you don't like that, screw up.
look, I can understand that you're getting people to, fund this, whether it be you're financing the wedding, paying out of pocket, getting mommy and daddy's money to pay it. I know that these things are not cheap, but that does not justify you being an absolute dongwad to everybody around you. Part of me also really, really wishes that they wound up complaining that there was no flower girls. Like, yeah, well, you invited her, but then you said she couldn't come. Make up your damn mind, nutso. Clients don't have the budget to hire me, so they change me to suit their budget. Ew. I was working with a couple to renovate their home in New York City. They had narrowed their search down to myself and one other, with me being the preferred, and the other being the more budget option. I gave the clients my detailed spreadsheet of costs so that they could use it to pick and remove the non-essentials, in the hopes of getting closer to the number that they wanted. They had so many luxuries, it actually shouldn't be hard to do. A few days later, they both call me announcing they've done it in a celebratory manner. Now, the price as designed was almost $1.7 million. If I removed every single non-essential item, I could get the budget down to $1.275 million. I opened the sheet and they had somehow gotten it to $955,000. I looked through briefly, and seeing literally nothing had been removed. We are $600K or more lower than the build of the same house. So I called the client to ask if I have the right spreadsheet, and the wife answers and says, "Oh, same, sorry, maybe not, I'll resend." Resends it. We remain on the phone to go through it together. Same thing, same pricing, same sheet. I tell the client I'll call her back. I open the original sheet and put it side by side, and I can't see what's changed initially. I finally saw what had happened about a minute later. The first thing I notice is a fancy $7,000 archway within the spreadsheet, which was closer to $10,000 with all of the markups, etc. But the base price was $7,250. She had simply gone to that number and changed it to $1,750. I keep looking, and they have gone through my whole spreadsheet and done this. Another example is that they wanted this custom railing and staircase on an exterior metal deck. This was an item that they were to remove based on conversations. This was $25,000 or so, but they had changed it to $8,000. There were so many examples of this. I call the client, and they're still confused, thinking maybe they had thought, "Oh, we won't spend $10K on the fancy archway. We will just have you just do whatever 2K can buy us." I asked what had happened, and they said, "We just adjusted some numbers until we came up with our budget." Okay, to be clear then, in the areas you've lowered my numbers, you're expecting less, correct? For example, the archway, you want me to just put a regular trim detail there, or whatever 1750 can buy? Client sounding confused. No, we still want the archway. Why? Hang on, so you're still expecting the details as they're drawn in the bid set? Husband joined the call around this time. Yes, why? Sounding really confused or doing a good job of acting confused. So, you haven't removed any item, you've just lowered the price to what exactly? Well, I don't understand. Maybe I'm not being clear, so I'll use an analogy then. I have said I'm going to cook you a burger with all of the trimmings for $10. You guys have $6, so I've said, "Hey, here's my menu, go ahead and remove the bacon and eggs and see if there is a price to get that you can get happy with." But it seems that you just changed the price of the burger on the menu to $5 without removing anything. Is that correct? Client tone changes for the first time ever, from upbeat to caring to like evil stepmother. Oh, I see, yes. Well, we looked through a lot of your pricing and we just don't see how they could cost what you've quoted. So we changed them so where we thought they should be. What did you base your numbers on? How did you decide what they should be? I guess we just thought about what are reasonable and what we thought was fair for everyone. Side note, nothing induced rage in me quicker than a client talking about paying me fair. Okay, look, this is really inappropriate. I gave the sheet over in good faith for you to review what could be removed or retained, but it was not so you could decide what you wanted to pay. The pricing is truly reflective of what I can do for the job, for in a way that allows for minimal price changes and allows me to be in fair business after you honor your warranty. No, we just don't get how these things can cost so much. In that moment, I then see at the bottom of my profit margin of 15%, standard in the area that I worked in, and they changed it to 5%, so we're talking 100K. Guys, you changed my profit margin. You can't do that. That's not a negotiation. It's an offer to perform services. Okay, look, I need some time to consider my next move here. Clients sensing that they are losing me, we are seeing this as a partnership. You could use this house as a showroom for future clients. I see every job as a partnership, but ultimately, it's your house. Almost all of my old clients allow me to show their home. I get invited to dinners regularly and birthdays. I'd love for you guys to be a part of that, but I can't pay $500K plus to do that here. My pricing is set. I've put my best foot forward. If you want to work with me, I'm going to build you a wonderful home. As always, please reach out with questions. They ended up hiring a contractor who agreed to their pricing and scope. When he calls to let me know that they're going with the other guy 3 weeks after he was supposed to, I said, listen, no hard feelings, but you have my spreadsheet. You can see the job's raw cost, and it is 300k lower than that number. Be careful. He just replied, it will be fine, kind of smugly. They also needed a job completed in 8 months, which is very tight in New York City. 2 years later, I ran into the architect. The clients still were yet to move in, and they were living in an Airbnb and almost double the budget with lawyers involved with the contractor. I never take pleasure in other people's suffering, especially in New York City, but it was hard not to feel a small sense of, I told you so. I truly believe that they get called saying, they done it. I think they were hoping that I'd write the contract and not notice. It was truly insulting. If you truly do want to avoid any type of cost, then, just buy all of the supplies yourself. That way, the person that you're working with knows exactly what they need to use, and you only wind up having to pay label fees. If you wind up not doing that, then yeah, you're gonna be kind of subjected to a long spreadsheet with all the details, and you can't really debate with that. You can't just see something, think,
Oh, I'm just going to pay less.
and then change the sheet and think the person won't notice. I was aiming for the sound of love, but got the mating call of the wild Karen instead. Hi gang, backstory. I'm a semi-professional audio engineer and ditto nutcase, winky face. I have always been fascinated with synthesizers, Vangelist for the win. And over the years, this grew into this passion for digital audio in general. I studied the techniques, I became quite active within the field, and slowly but steadily also managed to set myself up with a nice home studio. Right now, my tools of the trade are Ableton Live Suite Edition combined with FL Studio. These are two so-called digital audio workstations, which basically means so much that these programs allow me to work with audio on my PC in the most extensive way possible, because a keyboard and mouse can only do so much with regards to playing music. I also rely on two so-called MIDI controllers, the Ableton Push 2 in combination with Native Instruments Machine Controller, backed by Complete 13 Collector's Edition. On top of this, eventually, audio is generated thanks to my Complete Audio 6 Mark II audio interface, which is hooked up to a pair of JBL Studio monitors. Meaning, to put it simply, I have quite a musical powerhouse under my fingertips. One of my favorite genres to play with is orchestral. I love setting up ensembles and then playing and recording. Seriously, the only way you'd realize that I didn't try to cram a whole orchestra into my somewhat small apartment is because of the way I play, but most definitely not by the way it sounds. Which is where the semi comes into play. I work with professional equipment, and sometimes I even manage to earn some extra cash by providing certain services to others, mastering audio, creating specific multimedia solutions, using the Max programming environment, but in the end, it is essentially still one huge, passionate hobby of mine. Never underestimate the kind of emotions which sound can trigger. Samples and synthesis. There are basically two general ways to work with digital audio: using instruments, synthesizers, or generators for the win, which can create sounds themselves, or by using existing audio data and then use that to build up something bigger, which refer to such audio data as samples and environments like Ableton Live as well as FL Studio provide tons of ways to use such examples, and then turn them into something which is sometimes totally different, but most of the time something completely awesome. Seriously, if you ask me, when sampling is basically a bit of an art form, on which is pretty difficult to master, but can be so much rewarding. That orchestral setup I mentioned earlier, yeah, mostly powered by sample collection. Now, I'm by far an expert in this field, but most certainly a huge fan of it. I even got myself a small audio field recorder, the Yamaha Pocket Track C24, which allows me to, well, record sounds. And so we get to my previous nutcase comment. Take, for example, fountains. A lot of people, myself included, can marvel at their beauty, but then I also soon start wondering, could I somehow capture the sound of this? Literally, the sound. I've made tons of recordings, copied them onto my PC, and then started experimenting with those using the software previously mentioned. The sound of love. My girlfriend and me have been dating for years already, and we're actually really happy with the way things are. We both have our own home, our own lives, but still keep a constant contact, and we go see each other every weekend. I suppose it's our age at the work here. We're both well into our 50s. Now, normally we go visit each other on a Friday and then we spend the whole weekend there until Monday. Today, both of us got caught up in a What's Up chat and we were both really looking forward to seeing each other again tomorrow, which was Friday. So my girlfriend decided that, you know what, I'm coming over right now. Happy days. I even decided that, you know what, then I'm going to make it a bit more special. I even bought her some flowers because why not? Now, I definitely got caught up in the mood swing, but, and I'll be fully honest, this was an utterly silly idea. No matter how you put it, I still had fun though. After I got my girlfriend a bouquet of flowers, I got kinda in the mood and then started to wonder what the sound of love could be like. Now, sure, there's a classic Je t'aime, but that's taking it a bit far from me. So, since I more than often keep my audio recorder on me, I suddenly got this idea. Why not record the whole encounter and then see what audio could be matched against still being very much in love? Utterly silly or maybe stupid, you say. I'm not arguing. The incident. So there I was, sitting on a bench near the bus stop with a bouquet of flowers on my lap, and when I heard the bleep on my phone that was my girlfriend was within a few kilometers of me. So I grabbed my audio recorder and turned it on. In case you're wondering, my girlfriend and me can GPS track each other, and we always turn this on during dates so that it's much easier for the other to know where you are. So, if there's a delay in public transport, for example, we don't have to worry about the other being worried or such, because they can see what's up. And then it happened. Convo is translated from Dutch, but the funny thing is, the "excuse me" was literal. "Excuse me, but could I borrow your phone real quick? I need to call my boyfriend." Some woman suddenly asks me. I look up to see someone looking at me in expectation. So I then tell them, "No, sorry, this isn't a phone, and even then, I'm not going to lend you my phone to some stranger." "But it's an emergency," she tells me. "Look, I just set it on speakerphone and I'll give you the number to call, please." And right now I'm honestly getting a bit annoyed here. Once again, it's not a phone, I tell her. Please leave me alone. There's a bit more talking going back and forth until I plain out ask her why the heck she won't take no for an answer. But unfortunately now takes a seat on the other end of the bench, and sure enough, for some reason keeps grumbling and making noises that are easily getting recorded. Why me? I decided to put up with it and just ignore it, and then joyful moments later, because the bus pulled up. A flower bouquet in one hand, my recorder in the other, a grumbling Karen next to me, and finally, my girlfriend getting out of the bus, spotting me and the flowers. She quickly runs up to me yelling, "Oshi!" My girlfriend is Japanese, well, Dutch actually, but has a Japanese origin, emigrated as a child, and we always talked a mixture of Dutch and English between us, and over the years, my Japanese is also somewhat catching up. She was really appreciative of me bringing flowers. Next moment, we are kissing, and I'm over the moon. First, this is an awesome start to our date if you asked me, and second, I was pretty sure my recorder caught her whole comment as well. Yeah, I am a bit of a nerd, and just when I was briefly wondering how all of this would sound...
Excuse me, do you have a phone I could borrow? It's an emergency.
Yep, the annoying Karen from before is now for some reason asking my girlfriend for her phone. I was pissed. My girlfriend looks at me, I look at her, and she has obviously seen my annoyance because the next moment she pulls away from me and gives the Karen a load of Japanese protests and insults. Honestly, the only thing I recognized was baka, which in context can mean idiot, but everything else went way past me. Sorry I asked, the woman says. It was just a question. No, it's harassment, I tell her. You've been nagging me about it almost since I got here, and you obviously don't seem to understand what no means. The Song of the Wild Karen. I got so annoyed and caught up that I completely forgot that I still had a recording audio recorder in my hands. In fact, it was my girlfriend who suddenly asked me during our walk towards my house why I was holding my pocket track in my hands. Which is then when I told her that I was having a silly mood and trying to capture the sound of love. Next moment, I get an almost crushing hug, and then she says the magic words, well, at least you did get the mating call of the wild Karen, and I'm like, wait a sec, here, she's right. Now, obviously, we're not going to use some random's voice without their permission to do stuff, even if it is a Karen, but should be okay if I share the lyrics, right? I even got Miku Hatsune involved. I have a Vocaloid license and got that sound bank too. Okay, I'm gonna be legit. The only thing that came to my mind was Karen Miku, and I don't know if I should be intrigued or afraid as shit. But with that, that is going to have to be it with the video. If you guys would love to be absolutely amazing, show your support, and see more videos like this one in the near future, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment down below to start up them wholesome internet discussions, and if you guys have not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye!